Oh, accidentally didn't click on envy. Our first guest is loading in. What's up, Lily? Do you think that men are smarter than women?
Hey, I've been trying to join your live for like the past 2 days. I just really had something I wanted to say. A lot of the times when you do lives to do with like whether or not being gay is immoral, one of the points you make, which I totally agree with,
Lily, unfortunately,
is
I'm gonna ask you to politely join my Discord and let me know in there, or come back when I am running that topic. I do understand that, but that's just the wrong topic. But Lily, I appreciate you for coming up here. All right, we're gonna go and move on to our next guest here. Let's go and get Robbie Bone up here, y'all. If we're excited for some debates, make sure we're tippity tapping away in that phone screen. Robbie Bone's holding it up. What's going on, Robbie? How old are you?
I am 34.
Sweet. Do you think that men are smarter than women?
I remember watching a documentary a couple of years ago, and it showed how men are better at doing particular things like reversing a car or things like specific tasks. Women are smarter at other tasks, but then men are smarter at other specific tasks. So it depends what the task is.
Yeah, so I haven't seen like that at all. Overall, do you think that men are smarter than women?
Um,
Men better at carve, bro, for real carbon.
I'm not sure about overall.
Do you think that men are like more logical than women?
More rational, perhaps, maybe because of women have to go through hormonal things that men don't.
Yeah, so why do you think men are more rational or logical than women?
Um, because when women go through their periods, they get all sorts of emotional problems.
Yeah, do you know what hormone is released when a woman is on her period?
Estrogen, I don't know.
You fucking it's cortisol. It's cortisol. So when a woman gets on her period, thank you for the forever rose. Cortisol is released in her brain, and basically, when we actually look at the studies, when we look at the empirics, when we look at the research done on this, heightened levels of cortisol within a woman's brain when she is on her period is not going to necessarily correlate to a less irrational state of mind. Thank you for the hearts. There's not been one clear evidence study done on this that shows that when a woman has these heightened levels of cortisols, she's less logical or more rational. Not to mention that I actually don't think it's the case at all that women are going to be less logical than men. I mean, bro, can you seriously name me one empiric data point or in one way where men are more logical than women? Because I feel like I can name so many ways in which men are less logical than women. A big one's just gonna be violent crimes. Who the fuck is committing 90% of all violent crimes? Men! Who's committing all the gun related crimes, the arson, the kidnapping, the child abuse, the animal abuse, the domestic violence, the rape, the assault, the battery, the mass shootings, the school shootings, the terrorism, the extremists, the extremists are cyberbullying with threats of violence? Men! Who's drunk driving and who's doing reckless driving? Men! Who's gambling? Men! Who's starting wars? Men! Who's starting? You know what I mean? You're picking up on what I'm putting down. Thank you for that little crown.
The only thing that makes me wonder is why are all the greatest innovators of the world men? Like there's
Thank you for the hand art. Right. So I don't know. Let's actually take a look at this. What are the traditional gender roles?
traditional gender roles.
Yep. What are the traditional gender roles, Robbie?
Oh, you mean like women doing like cooking food and stuff in the kitchen?
Oh, we're getting somewhere. So the traditional gender roles that were widely accepted for all of time, all of our history, and are still accepted and pushed on individuals are the fact that men are supposed to be going out, providing, producing, and creating, while the women stay at home and raise the children and cook and clean. Now, how do you think that we would see female innovators in history if females were historically oppressed in form of the opportunity in which they had? So just to answer your question, why don't we see as many women innovators as male innovators? Patriarchy.
Hmm. Well, I suppose it must make some influence, so you're probably right to
Thank
some
you for the
extent.
sunglasses. Well, I mean,
But
duh. I mean, you're the one that came up in here saying that like women are so emotional because they have periods. Thank you for the sunglasses. And like this is a very traditional like, like point to be held by a lot of men, especially a high percentage of men throughout history. And if this was like a commonly held belief, then why do you think we wouldn't see women innovators because they didn't have the opportunity to become an innovator, right? Not to mention that you didn't respond, thank you for the love you, to any of the data points in which I laid out to you. Like seriously, any of them. When we went over all of the violent crime statistics, I gave you 20 empirical data points. When we went over all the irrational activities such as drunk driving, reckless driving, or gambling, all committed by men, you didn't respond to a single goddamn thing. But if you really want to talk about logic, would you say that performance in academics is going to be correlated to a higher level of logic?
say that again, sorry.
Would you say that a higher performance in academics is going to be correlated with a higher level of logic? Thank you for the crown.
Probably, yeah.
So then tell me why we see women performing better than men at academics.
Um, that's a good point. I've never thought of that. I don't know. Maybe they concentrate harder and they put more effort in.
Do you have anything else, Robbie?
No.
That's what I thought. Have a good one. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next guest here, y'all. If we're enjoying the debates, make sure we're tippity tap tapping away in that phone screen, y'all. Let's go ahead and get up to 100K likes. Now, let me get this straight. If you are one, thank you for the little crown, that thinks men are more logical, or women are more emotional, or men are smarter than women, hop in those fucking guest requests, baby. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next guest here, chat. Let's go ahead and get Jonathan up here. Let's see what Jonathan has to say here. I really appreciate everyone for being here. It's a new topic today, and also make sure to hit that follow button if you haven't already. What's up,
Oh,
Jonathan?
well,
Do you think that men are smarter than women?
for me personally, I feel like most women are more intelligent than most men.
True, 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 Jonathan. Well, I appreciate you for coming up, man. Unfortunately, I'm only talking opposition. I hope you have a good one. All right, we're gonna go and get our next guest up in here. Unfortunately, I'm only talking opposition. If we are in those guest requests, make sure that we do think that men are smarter than women. Our next guest is loading up in here. What's up, Dylan? Do you think that men are smarter than women?
Yes, I do.
Okay, why?
Well, as far as academic goes, I will agree they are a lot better, a lot smarter.
Okay,
Um,
so wouldn't this contradict like the first thing you just said?
well, um,
Thank you for the galaxy, Olivia. So,
besides academics, I mean,
thank you for the anarts. So, okay, Dylan, stop stuttering over your words. Why are men smarter than women?
well, as far as it comes as common sense, I feel like we have a lot more common sense than women do.
Okay, why?
I mean, there's numerous reasons why. I mean, when it comes to simple, basic things, they take it to a whole nother level, put too much emotion into it instead of relaxing and thinking about it and just
Women put too much emotion into it. Women put too much emotion into the most simplest of things. So like when we see like a man getting broken up with, thank you for that boiling, Alexis. Thank you so much. Like when we see a man getting broken up with and like punching a hole in his wall, or like dousing like someone's car and like in gasoline, like that's not an emotional response to a common instance. Or like the fact that we've seen like men throughout the course of history start wars that led to the deaths of millions of individuals over just simple like egotistical male patterns. That's not going to be an emotional response to a common instance. Or what about violent crimes? Like how do you feel about the fact that like 90% of violent crimes are perpetrated by violent men, which is usually an extremely emotional and like irrational response to like the simplest things such as getting flipped off when you're driving. Thank you for the garland, Alexis. Thank you so much.
well, I mean, for one, I personally haven't, punched a hole in the wall or anything like that with a girl breaking up with me. I just moved on. But
All right, thank you for the hand arts. Yeah, we're talking about empirics, right? Thank you for the following, Alexis. Thank you so much. We're talking about like empirics, right? So you said that men have more common sense and aren't as emotional, but we see men having less common sense and being more emotional because of things because of things like violent crimes, right?
Okay, there. I mean, women have done violent things too, being emotional. I mean, there's
Yeah,
so,
about like 5 to 10% of them. The other 90 to 95% are men.
as in like
Thank
doing
you for
what?
the
Like
dinosaur,
women don't do the
Alexis.
same thing as men do when
Yo,
they
how
get
many
upset.
continents are there, Dylan?
What does continents have to do with what we're talking about?
How many continents are there?
I don't really know.
Yeah, Dylan. I hope you have a good rest of your day. All right, y'all, we're going to go and move on to the next guest here. Yo, Alexis, thank you so much for that dinosaur. All right, y'all, we're going to go and move on to our next guest here, guys. If we're enjoying the debates, make sure we're tapping away in that phone screen, y'all. Let's go ahead and try to hit 100,000 likes, y'all. We're going to go ahead and... Oh, my God. Oh God, we're gonna go and get our next guest up in here, y'all. Our next guest is loading in, guys. Let's go ahead and see what they have to say. Let's go ahead and see what they have to say. Yo, W fucking Dylan, baby. All right. Unfortunately, Jack did not connect. Yo, Jesse, I didn't catch your gift, but Jesse, thank you so much for the gift. I didn't catch it. I think I was looking at the gifts, but thank you so much, Jesse. I really appreciate you. We're gonna go ahead and get our next guest up in here, y'all. Let's go ahead and see what our next guest has to say here, chat. Well, thank you for the rose. What's up, man? Do you think that men are smarter than women?
For sure.
Why?
Uh, well, like when a girl calls you up, like they're always like they ask you dumb questions, but like they ask you questions that don't matter. Like when you try to answer the question, it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying?
How old are you?
I'm 18,
Yeah, what year were you born in?
2005, kid.
How many continents are there?
Oh, this is light work. 13, 13 or 7, 13 or 7. How much? No, actually, tell me. I'm in history class.
Oh God, y'all. Guys, I don't know if I can do this topic. Look, I don't know if it's just like the people that this topic attracts. Bro, we gotta like set some preliminaries here, y'all. We have to set some preliminaries here. We're gonna go ahead and get our next guest up in here, but we do just have to keep some preliminary like prerequisite like requirements in mind. Let's go ahead and talk to Omar. Um, Jeez, man. All right, yo. Our next guest is loading up here. This is honestly entertainment. Like I gotta say, like some of the lives I do are like going to be like actual debate, but this one may just be pure fucking entertainment. We're gonna go and get our next guest of the night up here. Thank you so much for those cat paws. Our next guest is loading in. What's up, man? I got a question before we get into the debate. First of all, do you think men are smarter than women?
Hell no.
Wait, I got a question. Let's test it. How many continents are there?
7.
Thanks for coming up. Thanks for coming up. Yeah. All right, bro. I'm having too much fun with this. Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you for the hand arts. I'm having too much fun with this, man. What's up? Do you think that men are smarter than women? Thank you for the arts. What's up, man? Do you think men are smarter than women? All right, he's not present. He's not present. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next guest here. Oh God, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and see what who do we want to talk to? Let's see what Palin has to say. Let's go and get our buddy Palin up here. Thank you for that. Had a mustache. I really appreciate it. What's up, man? Do you think men are smarter than women? More like logical or less emotional?
Kinda, yeah.
What fucking grade are you in?
That doesn't fucking matter, nigger. Go find it out, nigger. Go kill.
Jesus fucking Christ. Man. All right, next guest is loading in here. Let's go ahead and see what Unreal has to say. Jesus. Fucking hell. Jeez. Toddlers. Oh no, dude. What's up? Do you think men are smarter than women?
Well, can we define what smartness is?
Yeah, higher level of logic or rationale.
Well, when I looked up the definition, it said it's having or showing quick-witted intelligence.
Okay. So do you think that men are more intelligent than women?
I would say that the IQ tests are pretty clear, but when it comes to quick-wittedness, that may or may not be different. It depends a lot on the situation. They're
Yeah,
both
well, I don't like this preliminary of like quick-wittedness, right? So like I'm just here's like the thing I'm asking. Are men more intelligent than women? Are men more logical than women? Are men more rational than women?
Unfortunately, from what I've seen when I looked at graphs about this, supposedly it's like the top 10 or 15% of men are smarter than basically everybody else. And after that, women take up the dominate in the graph, and then after that, men dominate in the lower part of the graph. So are we talking
Right.
overall? You've seen this. You've seen the thing I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So this graph, so this is like a PragerU graph, and it actually originated from a blog post, right? And it doesn't share any like in specific, like it doesn't share a source, it doesn't share any like variables or numbers on the graph, right? But somehow it just got spread by like this this right wing extremist group or whatever, and just became like a totem pole of misogynists, right? So when we actually look at like credible universities, thank you for the rose, or credible institutions, like I don't know, Stanford or Harvard, and the test that they did on IQ differences in sex, we're gonna see no IQ difference in sex. We're gonna see like a very negligible difference between the average IQ of a man compared to the average IQ of a woman.
Okay, so I have a question about this. If we define smartness as quick-wittedness, how come all the really good comedians are the vast majority of them are men? Not to say there aren't any good female comedians, but when we think about like, go ahead.
Yeah, because I don't think that this is actually how like smartness is defined. Like, I mean, if you want me to be unreal, like, who do you think is smarter? The best comedian ever or the best mathematician ever?
Okay, but there's quick-witted intelligence, and comedians have to do a lot of things
Can
on
you
the
just
fly.
answer the question? Who's smarter, the best comedian or the best mathematician?
It depends on the subject. That's not that. It depends on the subject. Well,
Right? No, I don't think it does. Right? So
yes,
when
actually,
we're talking about overall, Unreal. We're talking about overall here.
are we
Who's
talking about?
smarter, the best comedian or the best like mathematician, ex physicist, ex like fuck Einstein? Who's smarter? The best comedian you could think of, or Einstein?
So you're saying that one form of intelligence is more legitimate than the other?
No, I'm saying overall, who's more intelligent?
In
The
terms
best
of,
comedian or Einstein?
well, the best comedian Einstein. Well, in that case, it would have to be Einstein over the best comedian.
Right. So then, therefore, we are not going to be talking about intelligence overall as a form of quick-wittedness, right? Not to mention that I actually think that like women are going to be more logical than men, right? So can I? I actually take that position. I unironically take that position.
Why
Do
do
you
you take that
disagree with that?
position? What do you think?
Yeah, right. Because like, let's actually look at like the reality compared to like these delusions that like you and other individuals have just built in their heads. Who commits vast majority of violent crimes?
Men do.
Right? Who commits vast majority of irrational activities such as drunk driving, reckless driving, or gambling?
Again, men.
And who performs better in academics?
It depends on the subject, but when it comes to stuff like science, technology, engineering,
No,
mathematics,
overall, who performs better in academics?
well, women do. Then if we're not talking about
Right,
school
women.
subjects,
Right, who graduates more from college, men or women?
women do.
Right, right,
These
right.
are leading
And
questions,
who's
however.
wait, no, no, no. Who's
You're,
more?
hold
Who's
on. You
more?
just
No,
said
one second.
stop.
I'm not done. I'm
Stop.
not done. I have one more question. I have
Go
one more
ahead.
question. Who's more emotionally intelligent, men or women?
Broadly speaking, right now, women are.
Right. So do you see why I think men are not smarter or more logical than women after answering all those questions?
Well, as you just said, Einstein is more intelligent than the best comedian. Social sciences are what women go to when it comes to things like science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Like you just said, Einstein is more intelligent than a comedian is. So if men are specializing in those fields, dominating in those fields, and being more successful in all those fields, how is it that all of a sudden now the social sciences are now apparently equal to the STEM subjects, even though you just discredited that about 5 minutes ago?
Right, because I don't think that the fact we see men dominating, like more like STEM related, career paths or education is going to show that men are going to be inherently smarter and more logical, right? I think that this is more going to be the case of the perpetuation of traditional gender norms and like the adverse reaction that we see of like the result of that throughout history and still being upheld today is men dominating, like the more intelligent or STEM related career paths. So let me
Honestly,
ask you another question. What is the traditional gender role of a woman?
no, we're not
Thom,
gonna.
thank you for the $10
No,
Venmo.
we're
Thank
not.
you for the $10
No,
Venmo.
sorry, you're not gonna just try to conclusively say something like that and then
No,
change the
no, no, no.
subject.
Seriously, answer the
No,
question. What is
no,
the
no, no,
traditional
no.
gender
We're
role of the
going back to
woman?
that. No, well, I reject the idea that the only reason that men do better is because of patriarchy and stuff like that.
Right. Well, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you why I think men are doing better in like the political like landscape as we see it because of patriarchy, right? So I mean, let's think about it. Well, the traditional gender roles for women are going to be, you got to stay at home, you got to cook, you got to clean, you got to raise the kids. While the traditional gender role for a man is going to be you have to go out, you got to provide, and you got to, like you got to gain that worth, and you got to provide, and bring it all home and be the leader, and you're more rational and you're more intelligent, right? And I think like what we're gonna see as a result of this is like more men being or dominating these fields that would be more correlated with a higher level of intelligence, right? So obviously this was the case throughout history when these gender norms were, like not just perpetuated but like written into legal code, such as like a woman being like the property of a man through marriage at the advent of the country, or them not being able to vote until the 1920s. And
Well,
anymore, the fallout from this is what we see now. Now, one second. Can I just have a second here? Right? And like the reason that I say this is because this is what the empirics back. Well, yeah, like sure, men are dominating like the STEM field, but now like is that because they're more intelligent or because of the perpetuation of patriarchy? Well, I think it's more so going to be the perpetuation of the patriarchy, and my justification for this is going to be the traditional gender norms and the fact that we see men dominating the most irrational activities in society, such as violent crime, such as mass shootings, school shootings, domestic violence, rape, assault. We're going to see them dominating. We're going to see them dominating arson, kidnapping, child abuse, like animal abuse. Right, we're going to see them dominating like violent extremism, terrorism, cyberbullying with threats of violence, like gun-related crimes. We're also going to see them dominating, like drunk driving. We're going to see them dominating reckless driving. We're going to see more men gambling, and like all of these are going to be instances of irrational behaviors that are just absolutely dominated by men.
okay, going back to the point that you just want to sort of deflect from again, men dominate in the STEM fields. The STEM fields, according to your own definition, or the one you pushed on me, was that Einstein is more intelligent than a comedian. Being a comedian is effectively about communication. It's essentially being very good at a social science. However, when it comes to science, technology, engineering, mathematics,
Sure,
for some reason, men dominate in that field, and they
sure.
dominate when they work in those fields. However, for some reason now, just because the social sciences are
I
somehow,
got a question.
no, stop. You didn't want me to interrupt you, so please
Yeah,
don't
go
interrupt
ahead.
me.
Go ahead.
Okay, so why is it that Okay, so why isn't that when it comes to this one example of men dominating over women in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, why is it this one example? It has to be attributed to patriarchy. It can't possibly
Right.
be anything to do with men and women having natural different proclivities and
Right.
being reproduced with successfully based on different things. Have you ever seen that tribe?
I mean, can I answer your question?
No,
Can I answer your question? No,
well,
you
no,
answer. You asked me
hold
a
on,
question.
stop.
No, no,
No,
no,
stop,
homie.
stop.
You unironically
Stop.
just
You
answered.
went on
You
for
asked me
several
a
minutes. Now I
question.
get to go on for several minutes.
Wait, you
You
unironically asked
issued
me a
several questions
question.
in a row. You issued several questions in a row and didn't let me answer. Now I get to do the same thing. If I have to write down your questions as you ask them because I don't get to
Right, but
respond
I have a
immediately,
really
then you
good
also get
answer
to do
to
the
your
same thing.
question.
Are you able
I,
to be
I, I
mature
have a
and not?
really good answer to
Are
your
you?
question.
Well, that's nice. And hold on, just write it down. Just write a little note on a piece of
Okay.
paper, write a bullet point, because that's what I'm doing for you. You don't get to tell other people
Okay.
not to interrupt you, and then interrupt everybody else, and then tell them that you're not being
All
rude.
right. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Keep steamrolling,
Okay,
emotional man.
thank you. Okay, I'm going to do exactly what you do. I'm actually writing down the times. So maybe if
Okay.
you did that.
Can
So
you
going back,
continue to like to get back on track, please?
yeah, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics. You said that Einstein is superior to a comedian. However, if that's true and women are only dominate in the social sciences, but men dominate in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, then that would by definition say that, hey, they must be much more intelligent because they go into these fields, and when they do go into them, they dominate in them. So again, if you want to define intelligence as technical skill and not social intelligence, which is what you did when you defined Einstein as being and more intelligent than a comedian, or maybe somebody else who works in social sciences.
Do you mind if
Why?
I respond now?
Well, no, I'm not done yet. You
Okay,
again,
go
you have
ahead.
to. You, okay. So you want to play that one example and say that's purely because of patriarchy. I don't think that is because of patriarchy.
Okay.
I think that all throughout time, men have unfortunately only selected for women based on on things like youth, beauty, fertility. Women have stop. It's not good. I'm just saying that among like, do you not agree that emotionally unintelligent men will prioritize youth and beauty over any other factor when selecting a mate? Of course you do. So we don't need to don't need to go there. However, don't necessarily need to select on pure basis of physicality or virility. They would broadly select on a wide variety of factors.
Okay, do you mind if I respond now?
Well, no, because I'm not done. You seem to have this
Okay.
problem with writing down
Go
bullet points.
ahead. Go ahead.
So, for example, there's a tribe in South America where the men have developed webbed fingers and webbed feet because there's a competition, and in that competition, they do best if they have those features. So, what is going to be showed up and that's dominant in the population is what is selectively bred for. If women selectively breed for height, you'll taller men. If women selectively breed for men who are more intelligent, as many cultures have a tendency to do. For example, Judaism and Islam have religions where social status is based on memorization of the religious materials. You can say if that's positive or negative or not,
I'm
but
getting
those,
out yapped, chat.
okay, and that's fine because you have no apparently issue doing that to other people and then calling them rude when they do it back to you. I'll say
Not a yapper.
I'll give you the point in. Well, you remember what you said about how I'm not rude, and here you're trying to.
Alright, so yeah, I'm gonna make you stop talking so I could respond to your points. I appreciate that. So I want to focus on like the main question you asked me, that you then asked me again, that you then asked me again, in like three different ways. Why is it that the fact that men dominate STEM and related careers would not make them innately more intelligent, and this would be due to like patriarchy? Well, I want to answer that question. So I have one simple question for you. Don't yap this away. Would you say that surgery and being a surgeon is a very technical STEM career that is dominated by men, and this would be one way that would show that men are going to be inherently like more logical or smarter than women?
Well, hold on. You're selecting for one field out of a whole bunch.
Right. Well, do you go
Why?
ahead and answer?
No, because it's one field. It's one field of study, and it could be different here. There could be if you go to your European country, there could be
Right.
there
European
could be a
countries, sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that as a yes. So this is great because the AMA, and a cohort study with the JAMA, conducted on more than 1 million adult patients between 2007 and 2019, right? And this was done internationally. It was done in North America. It was done in Europe, and what they found was that women surgeons are quite literally better at surgery. And the patients operated on by a male surgeon experienced adverse postoperative outcomes, including death, at higher rates than those operated on by female surgeons, right? And this shows once again that you are not only more likely to experience less complications when operated on by a female when in comparison to a man, but you are less likely to die. These same studies found that you are more likely to fucking die when operated on a man and in comparison to a woman, right? And when you take this fact alone, that this is a male-dominated STEM field, but women perform better than the men in it, and this is statistically proven by this cohort study done over the course of about 10 years on more than 1 million people, and you pair that with the fact that women perform better in academics and graduate from school at all levels more, and you pair that with the fact that the most irrational behaviors exhibited by men are vast majority, thank you for the good evening, committed by men, right? And you pair that with the fact that we have a system of patriarchy and traditional gender roles that would prelude to a woman staying at home and cooking and cleaning and raising a child while the man goes out, does all the hard work and provides. We have a very good argument for why no, the fact that we see more men in STEM related fields would not justify them as being inherently more like rational or logical than women, and this is more so to due to the patriarchy. Not to mention, thank you for the dinosaur, I appreciate all you. Not to mention that like the cherry on top, the game ender is that when we actually, just isolate intelligence, when we actually just isolate IQ, right? When we isolate logic ability, we see no sex difference. And this is going to be proven by studies done by Stanford, by Harvard, by pretty much any institution that studied it.
Okay, so the problem with your logic is you see 1,000 men becoming surgeons and then maybe 10 women doing, or whatever the ratio is, and you're like it never occurred to you that you have to be unimaginably intelligent for the relatively average person to become a surgeon in the first place. Yet when the vast majority of surgeons or people who are intelligent enough to become surgeons are men, you look at the small group of women who manage to become surgeons, and you don't say, "Wow, there's only a small number of female surgeons compared to male surgeons." You look for the fact, okay, for the women who are female surgeons, on average, they tend to do a bit better than men when it comes to their job. However, you're completely ignoring the fact that there's way more male surgeons. You decide to completely write that off as just an effect of patriarchy, and then when you choose to look at the number at the productivity of female surgeons, you look at that and say, well, that is inherent to their gender. Like, do you see the problem with doing that whenever it comes to male advantages or where men are winning society or doing better than women's society? The answer is always patriarchy, misogyny. However, when women are doing better in a certain field, the answer is always, well, women are just better. Why does that not seem logically inconsistent to you?
I mean, I think like your position seems logically inconsistent, right? So you're saying it's not due to any societal factors, it's due to these inherent traits in which men and women possess. So, right? If it was to do to the inherent traits in which men and women possess, then they would be held as a constant. But right? But like that's not the case, right? So we've seen more women entering into STEM related fields with the overall societal dismissal of misogyny and the patriarchy as a whole. As thank you so much for the swan. As the societal acceptance of women and as the opportunity grows for women, we see more women in these fields. And if it was to due to like this inherent trait or fact of one individual, such as an inherent level of like intelligence, then we would not see a rise in the entrance of women into these fields at all. It would have been the same 100 years ago as it is today, right? But the fact is we see a huge difference in the amount of women in those fields 100 years ago as we do today, right? And like again, pairing that with the fact of everything that I just laid out to you, and when we actually isolate this inherent intelligence, we see no difference. We have a beautiful conclusion that no, it's not going to be due to an inherent difference in intelligence, right? And it's like, look, I mean, I could give you like good arguments for this all day, such as the one that I just gave you on how we see a rise in women with the dismissal and the dismantlement of the patriarchy. But at the end of the day, the big defeater for you in your position is simply just going to be the fact that Harvard and Stanford did IQ tests and there's no sex difference. Thank you for the little crown.
Okay, well, why is it that more egalitarian societies, they don't seem to have the issues where they have a much more gender equality? Do you believe that European countries have more gender equality than America does in particular? Like, what's your position on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we see more like political equality in like more egalitarian countries such as those in Europe, but I don't think I could like make a statement on gender equality.
Well, I think it would be relevant because those countries have much more gender equality by almost every single statistic that you would prefer to measure. However,
Right. And then what happens when we measure like the domination of those fields by man compared to woman compared to the domination that we see like in the US or in a country that has less gender equality than the US, such as like a Middle Eastern country such as Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia?
well, I'd rather focus on other countries that are equivalent, like European countries, because those are our closest counterpart. And relative to this example, is that like the more egalitarian a society becomes and the less wealth inequality there is, like the less women have an interest in those STEM fields. They prefer they've gotten involved in them a lot more here, but they actually got involved in them a lot more in the West or in the United States, where there is less gender equality, where if they don't feel under the pressure and they can just go and do it whatever they want to, then they're going to go to the social sciences, not to the same degree that they do here. Actually, no, even to a greater degree over there than they do over here. You at some point, at some point, there's natural proclivity to get involved in certain things, And particularly that a lot of these highly intelligent fields, like becoming a surgeon, a lot of studying and stuff, all of this requires a lot of self-isolation, which has its own negative impacts. And unfortunately, that tends to be something dominated by emotionally unintelligent men to begin with. They might make up for scientific intelligence to make up for lack of emotional intelligence when they try to advance themselves. If you already have a great deal of emotional intelligence, and you're going to have a more unnatural proclivity to try to choose your career field and your interests, and how you make your money based off of that.
Yeah, so homie, I'm not gonna lie, I have like no clue what you just said, but you were talking about egalitarian countries, and for those that are watching that they don't know what that is, that's just egalitarian is like the idea of like more, equality, and like this gave me like something that I really wanted to look up. It's like I wanted to see like the gender disparity, disparities in like the STEM fields on the basis of egalitarian like rule within any given context or society. And what we see is that countries with the widest gender gaps in favor of men, aka like least egalitarian countries, see more men in the STEM fields, and then the most egalitarian countries see more gender equality. So this is
Well,
going to show a direct correlation between societies that have a favor of men and like their prevalence in the STEM fields when in comparison to those that do not. And this is going to show that this would not be, poised upon like innate differences between a man and a woman, but rather the societal context of the man and the woman. And like, I don't know how many times I need to get this across to you. Thank you for the glowing jellyfish. And you still have yet to address like my fucking argument, like my argument ender. All right, about the fact that when universities, when institutions actually study like IQ differences, we don't see any innate difference between a man and a woman.
okay, but again, is that consistent against all IQ studies? I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, give me one IQ study that would show that men, on average, have a higher IQ than women.
Well, I don't have one, but I'd have to pull
Right,
it up.
exactly. Do you want one that says there isn't?
Well, again, you just have no
Right.
problem. Well, hold
Right.
on.
So here's the deal,
No, I
right?
wasn't done
So
talking. I wasn't
all I'm
done
getting
talking.
off of
I
you,
wasn't done talking.
all
I
I'm getting
wasn't.
off of you is the fact that you don't really have any type of like
Well,
real
hold on. You just sit there
substantiation
and
for your
insult the intelligence
claims.
of men,
Okay,
except that.
you're gonna get emotional. You don't really have like any type of substantiation for your claims, right? Because, and I know this to be the case because when I ask you for substantiation, you say, "Oh, I don't have it," right? And like, I do, like, seriously, do you want me to give you studies that show that there's going to be no sex difference in IQ?
Well, when you hold on, sure, give me some studies, put them in the chat, like that'd be fine, or message them to me. That'll work too.
Sweet, of
However,
course.
when it comes to your evidence, a lot of it is anecdotal, and a lot of that has to do with a lack of emotional maturity.
Nothing that I've gave you is anecdotal. I've not given you one piece of evidence that's anecdotal.
Okay, you want to just attribute crimes and other things that are done by men who lack emotional maturity and say that these men lack emotional intelligence, which isn't the same thing.
Wait, no. The observations that I made is the fact that the most irrational activities that we observe in society are mostly committed by men, and the fact that we see women performing better in academics, excelling and graduating from school at all levels more than men, and the fact that even in these STEM cells in our society, or even in these STEM career paths in our society, while dominated by men, we see women quite literally performing better within them. And then when we look at more egalitarian societies, we see them having more gender equality within STEM career paths, and within the least egalitarian societies, we see less gender equality within the STEM career paths. And then when in comparison, even historically, to how many men were when men in comparison to women in these STEM related career paths 100 years ago, we saw much more men, and now we see more women, right? And all of these are going to be indicative of like societal compounding factors weighing on the in discrepancies of men and women in like STEM careers, compared to like some intrinsic higher level of intelligence within men. And then that conclusion that there is not an intrinsically higher level of intelligence within men is backed by the IQ studies from Stanford and Harvard. I feel like I have a very confluent position here. Unreal, honestly, do you have anything else to share? And thank you so much for that, Galaxy Icy Pain. Thank you so much.
Well, again, you're going back to ignoring the whole thing about men dominating the STEM fields. It's saying, well, when
Wait, I
people,
addressed that. I addressed that. No,
no,
stop. I
you didn't
addressed that.
address it. You can see a
Unironically, did
population
you
with a
not
million
just, okay,
people.
Unreal, did you not just listen to a word I just said?
Yes,
I
I'm
know, I
listening to every single bit.
completely addressed that. I completely
No,
addressed
you
that.
completely deflected against it.
No, I completely addressed it. Did you not just listen? Okay, repeat to me what
No,
I
you
just said to
think
you.
you addressed it, and because the
No, no,
answer
no.
was
Repeat,
satisfying to you,
repeat.
you think
No,
it should be
repeat to me what I
satisfying to
just said to you.
everybody else.
Repeat to me what I just said to you. I addressed it
You
twice.
you bring up that in your opinion, female surgeons are better than male surgeons, but while
Wait,
completely
no, this
ignoring
isn't
that
my
there's way more
opinion.
male surgeons.
This isn't my opinion. This is a study done by the AMA and the JMA on over 1 million patients across the world from 2007 until 2019.
How displaying a fact and then how you interpret that fact are two different things. There's a population of 1 million people, and 10,000 of them
All right, man.
are
How about you
surgeons.
address any of the other
9,000.
points I made? How about you address any of the other points I made? Look, you could address that as well. You could address anything, but like the fact that you said that I did not address the fact that we see male domination in STEM-related fields is completely irrelevant. Like, that's just untrue. That's misinformation. Do you get the fact that I quite literally told you that in more egalitarian societies we see more gender equality in STEM fields, and in less egalitarian societies we see less woman involvement in STEM fields, and even in our own history we have seen an increasing number of women being involved in STEM fields simply out of the virtue of the fact that we have seen a more egalitarian society, and then that these are going to be completely and irredundantly like indicative of the idea that this is going to be based on societal compounding factors in comparison to like intrinsic intelligence, and then the idea that it's not due to intrinsic intelligence even more. I referenced the IQ studies done that shows no difference between men and women. Thank you for the forever rose, Jesse.
So on one side of your mouth, you want to say men are obviously dumber because of the dumb things that they do, and on the other side, you want to say, well, women are
No,
obviously at
no.
least
Let me
equal
get this
because of the
straight.
studies.
My assertion is that there's going to be no IQ difference between men and women, and I think that women are emotionally more intelligent than men.
I would probably agree that they have more emotional intelligence for a wide variety of reasons, and again, I would also chalk down to socialization.
Right, so not like dendritic density, and the fact that women are born with thicker dendrites to manage levels of stress better, and this biological predisposition has the evolutionary meaning of giving childbirth. Thank you for the hand hearts and dealing with that.
If they were able to handle stress better, then they would be the one we put into wars. We don't do that for that specific reason.
Wait, no, no, you could look it up. Like, unironically, women have a biological predisposition to handle stress better than men due to like childbirth. They have thicker dendrites. I mean, this isn't like new information.
I get that. They also have a greater tendency towards neuroticism, which means that per unit of stress, they feel more pain relative to people who are non-neurotic or relative to men. Again, if we could be
Can you
taking
address a
limited,
single point I fucking made about like the whole thing to do with STEM career paths?
well, again, you want to look at the fact that there are way
Thank you for
more
that,
male
Blue.
surgeons and say that's completely
I
ignorable.
don't really appreciate you for coming up, man. Yeah, the guest was pretty neurotic, if you ask me. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our next guest here. I mean, listen, I asked him like 5 times to address a single point I made, and then he just continued to repeat himself and not address a single fucking point that I made. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next guest here, y'all. Make sure we're tippity tapping away on that phone screen, guys. Let's try to get up to 200,000 likes, y'all. This is our first time running this topic. It's going all right. It could be going a little bit better. We've seen some of the guests so far today, but we are not giving up just yet, y'all. We're going to go and get our next guest up in here. Thank y'all so much for this Tiny Dinies and for the fires. And Angela, thank you so much for the $10 Venmo. You just bought me dinner tonight. That Wendy's Double Dave's, that Double Dave's from Wendy's. Thank you so much, or the Dave's Double, I should say. Let's go ahead and get our next guest up in your chat. If we do think that men are more logical or more intelligent than women, make sure to hop in those guest requests. Let's go ahead and talk to our next guest. Oh, they did not load in. What's going on, Witchcraft? It's been a while, man. Let's go ahead and see what... who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Let's go ahead and see what the one has to say. Thank you for the Iron Blues. Hello, Fiva.
Hello, my friend. Oh, you know us, Shiva. Well, so like here, I'll tell you why men are smarter than women because I take into account Math 55. Have you ever heard of it?
Of what?
Math 55.
Math 55? Is that going to be like a higher level math course in university?
It's the highest level of math course that you can take as undergraduate, and only
Right.
I see only men are the highest percentage of graduating and highest percentage of getting in the class. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is again going to be due to the perpetuation of like gender norms and societal stereotypes compared to like an intrinsic or a higher level of intrinsic intelligence. And this is going to be backed by the same things that I told the last guest, just to do the fact that we don't see any negligible IQ difference between men and women. And this is going to be backed by institutions that actually study that, and that compared, again, with the fact that generally overall we see women performing better in academics and, similar fields.
But no, this is academics, and they're not performing as
Right.
well as the men. They're not graduating from the class as high as the rate of a man. So
Right.
it is acumen. And I don't know how gender norms are coming into this, my friend, because that's
Well, of
that's wrong.
course. Of course they
Yeah.
are, right? Because we're going to see a man being more likely to chase, like a STEM related career path or one that would require Math 55. And like, I mean, that's going to be to do to to the perpetuation of gender norms and the fact that men have to go out and work the hard and smart jobs, and while women have to stay at home. Right? I mean, and like again, like of course this isn't going to be due to like an intrinsic level of higher intelligence because 100 years ago we'd probably see Math 55 or like the relevant equivalent like 100% men. Right now we see some women, and we're going to see more women in that class the more that society progresses. Not to mention, if that class were to be held in Saudi Arabia, we'd see less women, and if that class were to be held in somewhere like the Netherlands, we'd see more women. The more egalitarian a society is, the more likely there is to be gender equality in all regards, including higher level math courses or STEM related career paths.
So like the only reason you have, because that's not the factor that's playing in. The only reason you have is the drive a woman may possess compared to a man, right?
Oh, no, no. Like the entire point of the argument that I just gave you was to show like indiscrepancies in like the involvement in STEM related career paths or in say like a math class like this. And it is 100% dependent upon how egalitarian or societally accepting or societally promoting like, equality would be within any given society. Like that's like if we see differences independent or dependent upon how like promoting of equality a society is, then we can directly infer from that this is not going to be to do to like an intrinsic level of higher intelligence. And if you want to talk about like trying to use this Math 55 course as a way to assert that men are going to be more intelligent than women, well, how about we use a more direct study, a more something that we're going to be able to show more direct results from, such as just straight up IQ studies, straight up intelligence studies, right? Because you're just inferring that from this math course, but let's stop inferring it and cut straight to the chase. Well, when we actually measure the innate intelligence perceived in men when in comparison to women, we see no difference. And this is going to be proven by institutions such as Stanford or Harvard.
Holy, I'm sorry, my friend, but I literally had four phone calls and you're still talking. But that's very wild. So I only heard like half the things you said. So you're saying I'm inferring this because of what? 'Cause I'm sorry, because like I got four phone calls.
Right. So the moral of the story is that like the more like promoting of acceptance and equality a society is, the more women we would see in this math course. And then not to mention that you're just inferring that intelligence is going to be necessarily correlated with this math course. So let's stop inferring and touch right on intrinsic intelligence by looking at IQ tests. When studies have done like tests or studies on when institutions have done tests or studies on like intrinsic differences in IQ when in comparison to men and women, we see none.
Yeah, well, I don't think IQ really necessitates like the smartness of one person. I feel like it really is like if you're like pushing for like like the drive, and like that's why I thought you were talking about you're touching base on the drive of like like the woman. That's why they weren't like I didn't really hear the
Well,
full
I think
argument.
that it's definitely going to like I agree with you to some extent that IQ isn't going to be like solely what intelligence is going to be based upon, but I think it's more so going to be based upon IQ than a math course.
But no, I bring
Thank
up
you for
the
the hand
math.
hearts.
I'm bringing up the math course because like I was in here like a little bit a while ago, and you're saying like you were talking to this one guy. You're saying like the best like mathematician or the best comedian. That's why I bring up that math course.
Oh, well, yeah, no, someone said that and smartness has to do with quick-witted intelligence, and this is why we see more men comedians than women comedians. Like I just was like showing them how completely off they were by comparing a comedian to a mathematician.
Oh, okay. Like I yeah, I wasn't really here for this full argument, but so like, you're saying the IQ would be like the best thing to like this get like who is smarter, the men or women, and like who's the
Right. So, like, I feel like the intelligence quota would be the most accurate way of prescribing intelligence. Indeed.
I feel like I feel like not necessarily because like people
Okay.
really study to become like smart, right? Because like you have to keep learning. So I feel like, and that's why I bring up that math course because like they study very hard, like really like have a drive for this thing. So like that's why like I'm saying the men are graduating at the top of like any math course. Like this is only math 55 is only for the smart people like that can actually
Tell
do
me,
math.
have you, can you like, okay, you just keep on repeating yourself. The last guest had the same problem. Instead of responding to what I say, you just don't engage and then you repeat yourself. So instead of not engaging, actively listen to what I'm about to tell you,
Well,
right?
it
So the more societally accepting and in promotion of equality we see any given any given state to be, the more women we see involved in higher level math courses and the more women we see involved in STEM related career paths, right? And like we could even see this in our own history. 100 years there was no women in any STEM related fields or within, this math course that you keep referencing. But as society has promoted equality and acceptance more and more and more and more, we see more women in these math courses and we see more women in STEM related fields, right? And like what this goes to show is that it is not based off upon intrinsic or innate differences of men and women, but rather upon the socialization of this idea, right? Because if it was based upon intrinsic or innate traits, like that were different between sex, we would see just as many women in it 100 years ago as we did today, and we'd see just as many women in it, and independent upon how egalitarian a society is.
But so like how is how is it not equal? Because now you're talking about the equality of women and men. I feel like we're are definitely equal in this day and age. Like this is 2023. My friend, I can be a woman if I want to right now.
How are we equal if you are coming up here and telling us that women are less intelligent? Like
Oh,
this is
we're
going to be directly
equal.
indicative of an unjustified prejudice as perpetuated within society.
Okay,
Like how are we going to be equal if we're like if we live within a patriarchy? How are we going to be equal
wait.
if toxic masculinity and misogyny and
Here,
homophobia are
I'll tell
being
you.
like promoted as
I'll
traits
tell
of a
you.
real man or an alpha male? Like how are we going to be equal if like the perpetuation of traditional gender norms such as the fact that men are the necessary leaders or that women should stay at home while they
Wait, you asked me a
cook and
question. Let, let
clean
me let me
and
let me
while
answer
men
it.
go out and provide and are dominant. Like no, we're of course we're not equal
Wait,
because
I'll answer
these
the
norms
question.
still exist. And like I 1 second, I'm gonna let you answer. But like the reason that I'm pressing so hard on this specific point is because I've talked to you before, and I know that you think that men are going to be the necessary leaders. I know that you think that women are just like too emotional, like crybabies that vent to you about all their drama, like because you've quite literally told me this before. And like this fact alone would show you that there's gonna be like systemic prejudice against women. So no, we're not equal.
Okay, but look. See, I'll compare a man to a man now. So like I am like not equal in strength to Mike Tyson, but guess what? We still have equal rights. I'm talking about the equality of one may possess. Me and Mike Tyson are both equally like like equal like representation, everything. 'Cause we're both men. But guess what? We don't have the equal strength. And what we're talking about is not like rights. You're talking about the rights right now. No, I'm talking about like one may possess like the IQ or whatever, like the smart. Like I'm talking about like being smart in general. I'm not talking about rights because that's what you bring up. So yes, I'm me and a woman are equal, but I am not. I'm smarter than a woman and I'm physically stronger than a woman. That's not what we're equal on.
Right, and the fact that you think that you're smarter than a woman, independent of the fact that IQ tests show that there's no sex difference, independent of the fact that the most unsmart, irrational, and emotionally proclived activities such as violent crimes, drunk driving, reckless driving, and gambling are mass committed by men, regardless of the fact that we see women performing in academics better than men and graduating from university at all levels better than men, regardless of the fact that there's not been one clear study done that shows men are smarter than women, regardless of all facts of the external world around you, you still hold this view, and this is going to be a prejudice against women that is unfortunately shared by a lot of the other men within the society that we live in, that would promote the dissertation and inequality of women and would assert a society in which, Jane, thank you for the $15, W Wendy's, in which women do not have equal opportunity to that of a man. And W fucking Jane, thank you so much for the $15.
Wait, so they don't have equal opportunity, but you just touched base again on academics, and I touched base in the beginning of my argument. I touched base on the hardest math class to ever exist, and again, if they don't have equal opportunity, how are they like graduating on a higher level than men? Like, see, again, you bring in academics, I bring in academics, and you invalidate it because it's not
Right,
IQ.
because I unironically think that the university system in the world that we live in today is going to be of a more like egalitarian state or in promotion of more equality than say like society as a whole, right? But say like earlier when you were referencing like another form of the education system, such as the point of like math class 55, well, I don't think this fact that we see more men than women in that is going to be of an inequity caused by the university system, caused by the university system in of itself, but more of a societal inequity, and this is going to be a result of that. Like more women are in that class not because more women couldn't be in that class, but because women do not pursue that because of what they're told by society. More men are in that class not because men are inherently smarter, but more men pursue that because of what they're told by society. What we're told by society is going to dictate to some regard what we do, and this is going to be a prime example of that.
I mean, like again, like what are they telling? Like, what is society telling these women not to do? Because all I hear
Yeah,
in
sure.
society.
Look at your own beliefs. Like I already touched on this. What is society telling these women not to do, and how is this a result of the society? Well, you yourself have came up onto my life before and asserted how women are just like emotional crybabies, and they just vent all the time, and they're so much more
They
emotional
do.
than
I
men.
have four
Yeah,
wives.
now you just asserted like your prior point was that men are smarter than women, so women are being told that they're less smart than men. I mean, you've asserted before that men are necessary leaders, so women think that they're supposed to be submissive and can't be a leader. You know, like other individuals, countless individuals have came up onto my chat, or have came up onto my live stream and just asserted or justified the idea that traditional gender roles, such as women shouldn't go to school and should stay at home, shouldn't work and should raise kids, like should be promoted, and this is what women are being told. And like I know that this is going to be the cause of this because the less women are told this, i.e., in more egalitarian societies such as the Netherlands, we see a higher level of promotion of equality in these math classes or equality within these STEM-related fields.
No, like again, like
Thank you for the hat and
in, in
mustache.
in 2023, I feel like each woman and man are equally represented, but this feminism is coming in is actually I feel like is negatively
Okay,
putting
so for
down
you to
men.
hold that for you to hold that viewpoint, you're gonna have to reject everything I just said.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm
So
rejecting
now
you.
instead of just saying that I'm wrong, justify to me why I'm wrong.
Okay, well, I was explaining, but you like to
No, I
intervene,
want you
like
to go point
interrupt.
by point and show me how everything I said was incorrect.
Points by points. I mean, you listed like 10 different points because you do a lot of yapping and
Yes,
I do a
sure.
lot of explaining.
I'll bring up the big point. Traditional gender roles stereotype women into not pursuing the same opportunity that men do.
Okay, so I feel like because feminism has been on for 100 years and it's been pursuing equality, but now in 2023 is they're basically putting down men, right? I feel like there's extremists are out there and they're actually taking away from the negative aspects of men, and right. So I'm saying,
So
whatever. There's
how
equal
does asserting that feminism has been around for 100 years dismiss the point that
because
traditional
that's
gender norms still
society.
exist?
That's society, right?
No, that's not society. That's women. All right, that's me. I'm not a woman, but I'm a feminist, right? And like I'm a feminist due to the fact that we still do
Um.
not have like
Oh my
gender
goodness! I
equality
keep
within our
getting called.
society. Like I mean, I don't. I
I'm
like
sorry.
again,
What did you say?
like
I
just
got
like
called again. Cause
yeah. So just saying feminism exists, like that doesn't discredit the notion that traditional gender norms still exist. If anything, it promotes it, right? So like the reason that feminism still exists is because equality is not experienced.
so no. But no. Feminism is society, right? This is a whole group of people, men and women included, right? that are pursuing equality for women and men. But in 2023, I'm saying that's what they're not doing, and I feel like they're pushing it against men.
How
But
exactly does this show that traditional gender norms still like don't exist? That's what I don't understand. How does this go to show that like we do not live under a patriarchy? Where like the vast majority of the individuals making decisions are going to be men. How does this like go to show that like we do not live in a system that gives more opportunity to men when in comparison to women? How does this discredit the fact that when we see like societies that have more gender equality, such as like certain like nations in Europe, more egalitarian societies, we see more equal representation of men and women in these like intelligently related fields? And how does this disprove the IQ studies that have been done on men and women? Like you just have so many questions that you have to answer.
no, well, again, you keep yapping. I'm gonna bring in. I
No,
don't
I'm
like to
not
bring.
yapping. I'm asking you
Wait,
questions.
wait. I was gonna
Ariane,
address.
thank you so much for the $25. Thank you.
I was gonna address it, right? I'm gonna bring. I don't want to bring in race into it, but BLM, for example, it's like I think it could be used as an example because these people are pursuing representation and equality in what is like in society. But guess what? That's why it's BLM, right? That's because that's what they're doing.
Yep.
That's the push. That's the same thing for feminism, right? They're pursuing equality and equal representation in
Yep.
society.
Exactly, because they don't have it yet.
Exactly.
Exactly, because they don't have it yet.
In this society, that's exactly what they're getting: equal representation and equal treatment. But
Okay,
not
so you're saying that black people have equal representation and equal treatment and equal opportunity as the white men within society. If that were the case, then why does the average the average black family make $20,000 yet less per year than the average white family?
well,
If that's the case, then now listen. If that's
wait,
the case, then why does
wait.
the average black student in a public school get almost half as much public funding when in comparison to the average white student? I mean, if that was the case, then like why do we see like so many like co-founding variables that would show that no, they do not have equal opportunity or representation?
Oh my goodness. Am I coming through? Because I'm getting called like a lot.
I mean, no, you just
Am
asserted
I
that
coming through?
BLM and feminism exist, and like, but they're not needed because all is equal. Well, I just gave you specific data points and the fact that like no, like black people are going to face
Yeah, no,
inequalities, and I could give you specific
I
data
heard
points, and
you,
I have
but
that like
there,
no,
there,
women are still facing
there's
inequalities, like such as the
wait.
inequalities that you and people like you are perpetuating.
There's a lot of factors that come into this because like what job does this average black family have, right? And what job does this average white family have? What is this individual, this black person, doing to get this funding, the specific funding? Like are they on the same level as this average white person?
So now are
So
you
there's a
saying
lot
that
of
like
factors.
now are you saying that
No,
like the
there's a lot
average
of
white person
factors.
is intrinsically more intelligent than the average black person?
Oh wait, when did I ever say that?
Yeah, because
Wait,
this is going to
what?
be your assertion. If this was not to due to societal
I'm not.
conditioning
I'm not.
and a result of socialization, then your only other argument would be
Wait,
that this is intrinsic to the
wait. No,
individuals.
my friend.
No,
I'm
no,
not
no,
saying
no, Ari, no. See, this is a catch-22. I gave you specific
wait.
inequalities, right? I gave you very specific inequalities experienced by black people and white people. And like the answer to these inequalities is either going to be like social conditioning and like, socialization, and like, forms of like societal prejudice, or just that, like all black people just aren't made as well as white people, therefore they can't make as much money. Like seriously, unironically, it's going to be one or the other.
No, well, because like no, you're not taking into account like all the factors that play into this, like these
Sure,
roles, right?
factors are taken into account. Yep. Yeah,
No,
factors
no,
are
no.
taken into account. And when all the factors that are taken into account,
Wait, are
they
they?
show
Do they have
that
the
the
same?
average American is 27% less likely to vote for a woman politician over a male politician just because one's a woman and one's a male. Taking all the factors into account, we see that employers are like 25% less likely to hire a black man over a white man just because they're black and he's white. When we take the factors into account, what we see is societal forms of prejudice that benefit the white man and you don't provide like no benefit, and honestly they provide harm to anyone that exists within some marginalized group of society, such as women or such as black people.
No, but look, I'm saying you're not taking in like all the factors because like what's
I
the average
just I
dog?
just took into I just took in all
No,
the
no, because
factors,
you
homie. I
invalidate.
just took in all the factors. No,
No,
no, you
because
can't tell me that I'm not
no,
taking
wait,
in all the
no, because
factors.
no, you
No, no, you can't tell me that I'm not taking in all the factors when quite literally the studies that have been done to show these prejudices in forms of like politicians or in forms of, like job opportunity,
Oh my
taking all
goodness.
the factors, right?
You keep talking too
Or when
much.
these
Wait,
studies
let me address something you
done,
said.
no,
You're changing the
I'm
topic.
adding something on.
No, wait. Wait,
Or when
no,
these
because
studies done on
you
like,
keep
yeah,
adding
or no,
points.
one second,
That's not
okay,
how.
or like when these studies done on like the income inequality of black families would in comparison to white families. Yeah, they take in the factors, and what they show is the one factor that would influence that is a lack of generational wealth and social prejudice.
Oh my goodness, my friend, like you just keep like you add points and add points. Like let me address something before you add the points. Like there's no point to do that, right, my friend? Like this. Let's be like a simple argument.
I know,
Let's be
no,
simple.
but the thing is that you said I'm not taking in all the factors, so then I took in all the factors.
No, because look. See, when I was addressing the BLM situation or whatever, like the black people, like how they're not making as much money because you're not taking the average job this black person may have. You're like if they're on the same level, wait, they might be paid equally, right? If they have the same job, they're gonna be paid equally. That's my whole point.
Yeah, so how do you feel about like the gender pay gap? That shows that when all like co-founding variables such as explicit position or likelihood to ask for a raise are taken into account, we do see that women make less money than men on average.
Well, are they performing at as the same
Yep,
level as this
yep,
man? You
yep. Every single factor is taken into account.
they're performing the same level as a man. They have the
Yep,
same position as this man.
yep.
That I don't believe it. I would need to see the study
Go look it
because
up. So I mean, like no, like the first like gender pay gap number that came out, like 73 cents on the dollar, that didn't take account for that, right? But then studies were done on it, and then studies showed that there's still discrepancy of upwards of about 10 cents or so between the man and the woman's pay.
well, like I
Right.
feel like it
So
solely
it's not
comes.
as big as a lot of people think it is, but it still definitely exists when you take in all the factors.
I feel like it solely comes down to like your boss that you may have. If they're taking account to like this prejudice they may have against women, maybe they're gonna be paid less. But no, see what we're talking about is like equality because like of course there's gonna be some
Right, and
women.
what I'm saying is that if a man was paid equally to a woman in consideration of all co-founding variables, we would not see a 10 cent discrepancy.
Attention, but like what why like I don't think it's actually taking account to like what job they may possess or like
No,
the
no, it quite
performance.
literally takes into account their performance, the
Okay,
job they
what's this?
possess.
What study is this, my friend?
Yeah, sure, you could look it up.
No, wait, no.
Seriously, no,
If you're
just
gonna
look up
bring
like
up a
co-founding variables on. I mean, I thought it was common knowledge. Like, just look up like co-founding variables on gender pay
no,
gap.
it's common knowledge for these feminists that want to be more than a man, like these extremists, my friend.
Wait, so I'm an extremist for saying, yeah. So we could look at like Pew Research Center.
Peer Research Center. So in their
All
study, they
right.
take.
We could also look at like the GPR. We could look at like the CAP. We could look at the CAP again. We could look at the AAUW, the EPI. We could look at the ILO. We could look at
Okay, so AAU, is that what you said? What, like, is that what you just said? AAU? Because I'm searching it up right now. Because I this is definitely false, my friend. You are definitely
bro.
extremists. You just want more. You want more
Okay,
power.
man. All
No,
right,
you see,
Fiva. Well,
that's
this is
you.
why you got banned from my Discord. Yeah, it's definitely false, guys. It's definitely false. I'm just an extremist that wants more power. Ugh, man. That's why he got banned from my Discord on like 3 accounts. For reference, he was in my Discord like telling women that he was gonna fight them and beat them up. So, I mean, that should give y'all a good idea of who this guy is. He got banned on like 4 accounts. Well, guys, I think we are going to go ahead and switch our topic for the day. Now, this has been very fun, and I want to continue to do this in the future. I think that we just have to, I have to do a little bit more research into how exactly we could run this topic the best. However, for the time being, we are going to go ahead and switch back over to why is it wrong to be gay. We're working in more topics every single day. We're working in more topics. But we just got to get the performance up to par to keep the account in good shape and make sure that we're on an upward growth trend. So we are going to be switching back to the why is it wrong to be gay topic. I am going to go ahead and restart my live, and I'm going to be back in 10 seconds. with the why is it wrong to be gay. If you guys have enjoyed the debates to any degree whatsoever, if you guys want to continue to watch and support the debates for the rest of the night, make sure to click on my profile picture, refresh once or twice, and hop back on the live, right? But I need all 1.6 thousand of you guys on that live as soon as I start, tippity tap tapping away, sharing the live with your friends, and showing that support, y'all. I will be right back. Don't miss it. I'm going to end my live and then go live straight away again. Make sure you're back. Be there. Be square. See y'all in 10 seconds.